want to share any reflections from your group?
Sure. In the interest of time, I guess I can share. I was kind of taking notes on the Google Doc, but I want to invite other group members. Just hang on one second. I want to invite some of the other group members to fill in anything I may have missed or to add anything. But we had a really, I thought, really rich discussion, and again, I feel like we could have also just gone on for at least another hour or so, just kind of talking about this. And before I get into some of these specifics, I also want to lift up something that one of our group members, Andrea or Ananya, made this point of kind of intentionally keeping the conversation going, kind of intentionally cultivating a community around just this idea, Gopal, that you've raised up for us. So I thought that was a really wonderful insight. Some of the specific things we talked about, some specific ideas, planting trees came up, and particularly, well, the action of planting the tree, but also the mood and the mindset of seva, of service, in providing shade and service to others, to future generations. We talked a little bit about mindfulness around the use of product materials that are used in Hindu practices, worship, gatherings. So moving further and further away from products like plastics and of course styrofoam to things really kind of returning to the tradition's own more eco-friendly products like banana leaf plates or bamboo, connecting to existing initiatives that several communities and sanghas have going, being intentional about eco-friendly worship and images, moving towards recyclable images like Hindu art calendars and wedding invitations, making sure those items can be recycled, growing organic local vegetables and fruits, both in terms of farming as well as more like urban gardens. And we've kind of connected that to some of the references in texts like the Gita about offering, to the divine fruits and flowers and leaves. The act of intentionally praying to Mother Earth while watering, while composting. And we talked about just how powerful composting can be. In one community, one of our group members was sharing that composting has literally reduced their garbage waste by more than 90%. And then one thing that I thought was a really kind of a nice share in our group was the idea of intentionally reconnecting with nature and the natural world, even in seemingly very small ways. So kind of overcoming this tendency to think that everything has to be huge, large scale, but even in small ways, intentionally reconnecting ourselves with the natural world, and then that kind of inspiration spreading. So even things like sending out, greetings with photos of nature, constructing or maintaining things like bird feeders, so that we have this like daily connection with the natural world, with other living beings, other species, and just in these small ways, really kind of keeping ourselves connected to nature. If any of my group members would like to add, please go ahead and unmute yourselves.
You said it all, Vineet. Thank you.
Thanks, Ravi. Thanks so much to our group for your input.
Great, so many great things. I love the idea. I mean, I just love that it came out. I was really hoping this would come out, but just like an emphasis on just reconnecting with traditional ways of doing things, but also just reconnecting with the earth. I think it's something that we lose so much in our day-to-day life. And I'm so excited and happy that it came out in your conversation. And one common thread, well, one idea that came out in ours, which came out in yours, which is around the composting. We had one of our members whose family members keep chickens. And so the chickens take care of the wet compost. And so I made the comment that in India, you keep cows, in New Jersey, you keep chickens, and that's how you can live a more green lifestyle. But other ideas that came through in our discussion was around educating people around like the number of things. Oftentimes we move towards recycling or certain things, but there are so many things people can do when it comes to caring for the earth. So just raising awareness and educating people about that. A lot of discussion around educational resources and programming for schools and for young children, really trying to educate them at a young age about the importance of caring for the earth. And then for us who are a little bit older and aren't in school anymore, educational programs for us, maybe more gatherings like this, maybe more thematic, so maybe, today we're talking about in the environment and faith, maybe we can bring in a more like business angle and like other angles as well to kind of really see how we can green all aspects of our life. I think that was something that came across quite strongly. This idea, as you said, Vineet, in your group, of relearning the old ways. It's only been a couple of generations since we were doing things in a more environmentally friendly way. And so to relearn those practices. And I think one thing which was really nice that came out at the end, I forgot who mentioned it, but that in the Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, if you don't fight, you still have to anyway. And it's like you're compelled to act whether you want to or not, and that's a really strong message of the Gita. And so one of the thrusts in the Gita is act with the right intention, act with the right consciousness. And so, we're all going to have to respond to the environmental crisis, and so we have an option, we have a choice. Either we do it consciously and in a positive way, or we have to respond when it comes to, threaten our livelihood and our way of being. And so I love that point at the end that came out, that we have to act regardless of what we do. So those are, I think, some of the key things. Anyone from our group want to add anything else that I may have missed or want to emphasize any of those points?
Hi, this is Renu. Thanks very much for the insights you shared, especially linking the Bhagavad Gita to what environmentalists have been talking about these days. It's really very insightful. I have been associated with Sierra Club for some time, and I noticed that the club itself does a lot to promote Earth Day. So with the Earth Day coming, I think Princeton areas, and I live in Montgomery Township, so we do have an Earth Day, which is on May 1st. So those of you who are listening and would like to be part of that, you're welcome to come and join us in Montgomery Township's Fair. So that was just more like an announcement, and encourage you to join the community and do something. And I do have a question for you. I know we're running out of time, but I fail to see major initiatives taken out. We do have Earth Day Fair in the township, but I see very few people who are regularly involved in any kind of activity to help the community move forward. And as a community ourselves, being part of the community, I see that very less is being done. Some of us, we do little initiatives here and there, but what more can be done to promote environmentalism, and also being more proactive within our communities and families to bring the message to the younger generations? This is a great forum, of course, and we appreciate it very much, but very few people join, as you can see, and not much is coming to forefront, I would say, at least not I see. Any suggestions as to how we, as being members of the community, can help bring such kind of actions within our community and encourage it more and more?
Sure. Yeah, I'll respond briefly, Renu. Thanks for the plug for your event, and a great question. I think it's a really important question, and I think that's something that we all struggle with. We are concerned about the environment, and we all want to do more, want others to do more. I'll offer two suggestions. I think the first thing is that Vineet, not to put the pressure on you, but maybe we can set up a follow-up call, for those who are interested, to kind of get into this in a bit more and brainstorm ideas and see if we can create some kind of collective connected to the Hindu Life program that wants to do more in the community. And then I think the other thing is, which was mentioned in our group, which is, finding the pressure points for different people that would make them interested in the conversation, right? And so for some people, it'll be, you know, protecting and making sure their children have a future. For other people, it will be making sure their business meets their sustainability guidelines of the government or the business associations they're part of. You know, so like everybody has an interest in the environment, whether they know it or not. And I think it's up to us who are already in this space to work out what the language is, what the hook is that would get someone at a table to have a conversation about it. I think we have to really make it local and really have to speak to people's needs. And by doing that, we can really open up the conversation in beautiful ways. So those would be my two brief responses.
Yep, great points. Thank you.
You're welcome, Renu. Thank you. We are over time, so we're going to wrap up now. There's much more to be said, as always. But I'm really, really grateful to Vineet for convening us, putting us together tonight for this really beautiful discussion at the beginning of Earth Week. Thank you all for your contributions and your thoughts and bringing your whole selves into the conversation. And I'm looking forward to what comes next. And please always do consider me a friend and an ally in this work. Vineet, back over to you.
Thanks, Gopal, and thank you everyone for joining us. I put it into the chat box, but I will go ahead and follow up, at least over email, with an invitation to keep the conversation going. And I'd be happy to connect you to Gopal. I know Gopal is always happy to be in touch with folks directly. So we are interested in keeping the conversation going. Of course, because the Hindu Life program serves a wider community, and now, as we all learned during these last couple of years in the pandemic, community doesn't necessarily have to mean in person. It could also include a kind of a virtual or remote community. We're thinking more and more about what that really means to serve a community beyond the sort of geographical limitations of Princeton. So whether you live in town, whether you're connected to the university or not, we're really thinking about how to cultivate intentional communities. So we're going to work on it, and Gopal and I have some conversations about working on it on the level of students, undergraduate students and grad students who may serve as kind of, you could say, sort of green Dharma ambassadors, and that way can also kind of, you know, spread the word and share the message among other students, because student to student communication we found is really the best way of getting, you know, students activated. But also this group, you know, we're really happy to kind of keep the conversation going. So look out for that. I also want to encourage everyone. I don't want it to get lost in the chat box. Ron, maybe you could put it again. But if you are interested in a really dynamic project right here in Princeton, if Princeton is kind of home to you locally, our dear friend Ron and some of the other community members on this call are active with an eco-village project, setting up a sustainable eco-village right here in Princeton. So please be in touch with Ron about that if you're interested in learning more or perhaps in helping out. And again, let's you know, keep this green Sangha going, not just for Earth Week, but as Gopal said in the beginning, making every day Earth Day, making every week Earth Week. And so with that, I thank you all again, and I wish you a very happy rest of your week, and looking forward to the conversations to come. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.